How are you doing? How are you? How's your life been?
Life is busy as always. Thing seems to be exploding now. Making new things outside, getting new things from people. Yeah, it seems like I was trying to make up for the last 2 years. That's the real thing going on.
Oh, wow, yeah, no pressure, right?
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Okay, voice chat. Okay, now say something.
All right.
Okay, yay.
Testing, 1, 2.
Thank you. All right. Okay, now I just have to do the thing in Discord. All right. But yeah, yes, go on. Go on. Tell me all about your lovely life. What part of California are you in again? I forget.
I'm in the San Francisco Bay Area.
Okay,
So,
see, that's what I thought. I was trying to tell my mom today about, like, where you were at, and I couldn't remember. And she was, like, asking about what you do, and I was like, I don't know. Isn't that, like, classified? So,
I'd have to tell, or I could tell you, but then I'd have to kill you, kind of thing.
yeah,
No,
absolutely.
I'm like midway between San Francisco and San Jose, so down
Okay.
on the peninsula. I don't know how much you know the Bay Area. I know lived in San Diego.
Somewhat, yeah.
It's like another world, practically. So yeah, no, I manage. I mean, I'm a cis dude in the Bay Area, so odds are good that I work in tech, right?
Yeah, oh my god, that sounds about right. I didn't change the
Uh,
title of the stream or anything. What should we call the stream? You can tell I'm so, like, I'm doing so well right now.
So with it, let's see. Oh, what's a good title? What's a good stream title? Shit.
I know. It still says, like, the last video game that I was playing, so that's great.
Yeah, body and beauty art.
Yeah, I
beauty and
know.
body art, rather.
Yeah, it's just not correct at all. I'm just gonna put what Poly stuff.
Poly and work-life management stuff. I don't know. Well, yeah, actually, because I know you wanted to ask about the poly stuff. Do you want to ask about any of the management stuff as well?
Oh yeah, we could talk about that. All right. Hi Rose, welcome in. Okay. Your beautiful face is about to be shown. Kit, are you ready?
Yes, absolutely.
She said you're not currently muted. I know. Thank you. Thank you. We're just trying to get it together.
Or is it just you?
You should be coming through. I think I have.
Okay.
I think I have Discord working. Okay, I wasn't sure. Thank you. I appreciate that. All right. Well, hello. Hi, my name's Krista. This is Midnight Vibe Radio, a podcast all about mental health, navigating life, and the things that keep you up at night. Today we have Kit, our wonderful Kit here. I'm not even going to pretend to know how to, like, pronounce her username. What is it called? Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
So there's actually some disagreement between Saf and I about which the preferred pronunciation is, because I read it completely literally, and I always thought it was Dionysian, but she's going with Dionysian, and I think either is fine.
Just realize your border on here is messed up too, so I'm just doing a great job. Oh wait, I fixed it. Okay.
Doing it live.
Yeah. Hi everyone, this podcast is about polyamory. I took a nap and I woke up late and then my whole life is a mess, but here we are. So I guess we'll just go, like, right into it. Why did you decide to be poly? And tell me a little bit about your life and your relationships. Let's hear it.
Yeah, in that order, or
however you want to do it.
Guess, yeah. No, let's start with the first question. Decide to be poly. So I think decide to be poly is kind of a weird way of putting it. It's kind of just one of these things that you sort of are, or I mean, I guess you can decide to be poly, but like some people are disposed to it, some people aren't. And it's okay if you are predisposed to monogamy, if you're predisposed to poly, if you can go between the one and the other.
Mm-hmm.
I guess being ambiamorous.
Oh, what is that?
Just being able to go between monogamous and
I should have put those two together. Yeah, that was the context clues were there. My bad.
But my very first relationship was a poly relationship in high school. And
really?
So yeah, we started dating, and then the person I was dating was like, so just so you know, I am also seeing another guy and another girl. Is that okay with you? And I don't know why, but it took me like 2 seconds worth of thought to be like, oh yeah, no, that makes sense. Like, why would you do it any other way? So maybe it's
Huh.
just something that I always was inclined towards. Maybe I read a lot of sci-fi authors from the 50s really were into the whole poly thing, but I think it was mostly
Really?
as an excuse to write orgy scenes.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair.
Heinlein especially. Jesus Christ. Um, so yeah, I don't know. You, for all I know, I've been poly all my life, or I became poly right then, or something.
That's so cool.
So yeah, after that, I tried it a bit in high school, but it turns out that growing up in the Midwest, it's very difficult to find other people who are into poly stuff, especially in the
Yeah.
90s. So did a bunch of monogamous relationships, and I always sort of felt that that something was missing. And then finally got out here to the California scene, the San Francisco Bay Area, where hippies are alive and well,
Yeah.
and there's a lot more alternative relationship structure stuff around here. So
Yeah.
finally managed to explore that, and life now looks pretty good. I've got a couple of fairly established partners, Saf and Corky, and a few like we call them comet relationships because
Okay.
like you pass by each other once every so often, and it's like, hey, I like you. Okay, let's hang together. Okay, bye.
I love that. Common relationships. Okay. That's so cool to think about because like you're a little bit older than me. I don't know if you want to
Mhm.
share your age, how
I am
if
44.
you okay. All
Yes.
right, some people are worried about that. So to me that's a little surprising, right? Because people that are older than, not saying you're like 5 generations ahead of me or anything. I'm not like, oh yeah, I'm the millennial and you're the baby boomer or anything like that. But it's just surprising to
Hang
me
on, let
that
me
you're
get my walker there, dearie.
yeah. That just as someone older than me, they grew up in a different time and not in the, out west or anything like that. You still can have like progressive. Unfortunately, it's still called progressive to be poly at this point. But it's cool that you have like those like progressive beliefs.
Yeah. So I've seen this progression a
It
couple
does
of
not
times
look
now.
44. Sorry, we have to address the fact that you are not 44.
Let me show you this painting in my attic. No, so I've seen this happen a couple of times with various things, gay relationships especially.
Mhm.
It's sort of the trajectory of their portrayal in media. It used to be you would never see anyone gay in media, or
Yeah.
like the signs would be there, but very, very subtle. And then you would see gay characters, but they would always be the antagonist, the villain, because it was
Mhm.
portrayed as something deviant, right? And then you get the sidekicks because it's slowly gaining acceptability, but not enough to actually be the protagonist. Just that quirky sidekick who happens to be gay.
Yeah.
And finally, you're starting to see gay protagonists, and the holy grail is where the protagonist is gay, and it's not a big deal. It's just something that they are. It's no
Mhm.
one. It's taken as rote. And so I just started to see this happening with poly relationships maybe 10 years ago or so.
Hmm.
So I think it's something that is still taking some time for people to get their heads around. I've just started seeing poly relationships portrayed not as the villains, but
Yeah.
in a way that it's like, oh look, it's poly, it's so weird. uh, so I think probably in another 10 to 15 years we'll get there as a society, at least in media terms.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Hopefully. Okay. I thought it was interesting that you said it wasn't really a decision for you. It was like something you thought about for maybe like 2 seconds. But for me, because I grew up very like, I grew up as a woman in the South. Like, no, you have to be monogamous. You have to want to have kids and get married and like be with one person. So for me, it was like I was trying to like break out of that monogamous like shell my whole life, and I call myself polyamorous, but I've never actually been in a poly relationship. But it's like the spirit is there, you know.
Right, and that's entirely acceptable. I think that's polyamory. Being polyamorous is how you identify whether or not you're in a poly relationship at the moment.
Yeah.
I was in a bunch of monogamous relationships. I don't think that I, was a monogamous person at those times. It just happened to
Mm-hmm.
be, how I was conducting my life at that point.
Mm-hmm. Okay. That's interesting. I guess one thing I'm curious about is, did you run into any issues when you're dating? Like with people that maybe have different like boundaries than you, or like what are your boundaries, stuff like that in relationships?
Oh, geez.
I know, it's very open-ended.
Yeah, yeah, a little bit, huh? Um, so yes, absolutely. There are people who have different boundaries. I've not run into that much ire for being poly. Although there have been a couple of notable people on like OkCupid who are like who want to go off on the fact that I am poly.
The okay
And like
Cupid.
start, yeah, exactly, uh, and feel like they have a right to comment on how I want to live my life and my relationships.
Mm.
Um,
People on the internet.
but yeah, exactly. So one of the things I love about being poly is that there are so many different ways to do it. Everyone has their own different styles, their own, like you said, different boundaries, their own wants, needs, goals. Um, one of the first things I like to talk about on first dates with people is, so how do you do poly? Um,
Yeah.
and that's a great way of sort of jumping off and talking about what you're each looking for, and sort of starting that conversation.
Yeah. How do those conversations go? Have you
Oh,
had like good experiences, bad experiences?
almost entirely good experiences,
That's great.
because they tend to go one of three ways. So either the person has thought a lot about it or has been doing poly for a while, and has some pretty clear ideas of what they're after, and then
Mm-hmm.
we can sort of like compare checklists, be like, oh, I want these three things, you want these three things, hey, they match up, great.
Yeah.
um, or they are sort of wishy-washy, or they've thought about it and the things they're looking for are completely not the things I'm looking for, and vice versa. And then it's good to find that out early on, and
Yeah,
you
for
can still
sure.
have a good date. You can still be like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, let's chat, it's fun, we know this isn't going anywhere, but still we're out, and I might like to keep you as a friend or something,
Yeah.
because that's also a possibility. And the third thing is the third possibility is they have absolutely no idea. They're
Wonderful.
new to this, or they're like, well, my whole world has just been upturned for whatever reason, and I have no idea.
Yeah.
In which case, that's also good to know. We can, then chat about whatever it is that's causing them uncertainty, or start delving into what they're hoping to find or what I'm hoping to find.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, in any case, it's good to have all of that sort of out there at the very beginning, um, so you know what to expect.
Yeah. Okay. So lots of open communication. Imagine the fact that we can we call that a poly relationship, right? It's the fact that we're just so open and honest, you know.
I know, I
Oh, what a
know.
concept. Also, hi Brittany, welcome in. I saw you. I just didn't want to interrupt our lovely Kit going on. Okay, I feel like I wrote some questions down. Hold on. And I have to
You
like
did.
open them. Okay. Let's see, because I've already lost my train of thought. Isn't that great? Isn't that great? Okay, wait, what did I even want
Yeah,
to know? Okay.
I've got them up here.
Okay. So we talked about your decision to be well, or lack thereof, rather.
Yeah, well, and I feel I should go back and also say, like, people can decide to have polyamorous relationships. Like, that is an active decision,
Yeah.
and separate from who you are. And I've definitely got a lot of advice for people who are starting out or who are thinking about opening their relationship.
Ooh, that's
Uh,
good.
Yeah, I've done this talk a number of times.
Really?
So
Okay.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
great. That's awesome. What advice do you have for people that want to open up their relationships? That's a good
Ah,
one. That's a great
perfect. Okay.
question.
Poly lecture number 27. Okay.
Let's hear it. You're like a
So
professional at this point, right?
so I keep on joking that I want to teach management for poly people because the skill sets are so closely aligned. So
That's
yeah,
awesome.
I basically am a professional in some ways. Um, but yeah, so opening up a relationship. So I guess it looks a little different depending on whether you have an existing relationship that you want to open up, or if you are just like, hey, I want to try being poly and get a start as a single person. Generally, the sort of talks that I've given and stuff have been geared towards people who are already in an existing relationship and want to open that up. And yeah, there's absolutely advice I can give. Make sure that you have a clear communication avenue between the two of you, that you have a very solid, trusting relationship. Because a lot of the pitfalls that I see, a lot of the things that go disastrously wrong, are people opening up their relationship because they're trying to save something, because they're
Oh
trying to
no.
address something that's lacking in their relationship.
Okay.
And you see immediately what the problem is. I think most people on the outside of a relationship can see that, but it's like, if you've ever watched Arrested Development, there's a part where like two characters are opening their relationship, and one of them is a therapist, and they're like, yeah, opening your relationship to try and get something that's lacking in the relationship never works. I've never seen it work. No one's ever made it work. And then the other person's like, but it'll work for us, right? And the therapist is like, oh yeah, absolutely.
Oh my gosh. Yikes.
And the corollary to this is, if you are opening up your relationship because you've met someone, because you have a crush on someone, because you want to keep your current partner, but also, um, see what can happen with this other person, it's too late.
Oh no.
I'm sorry to
Okay.
tell you.
Really? Really? Okay.
So think about being the other person, where your partner comes to you and is like, "Hey, so I think that we should try an open relationship. And by the way, I've already got this person here."
Yeah, okay. That's fair.
Yeah. No, that's not great, and it's going to sort of set the tone for the entirety of your open relationship, and it's going to probably do a pretty large amount of damage to trust.
Huh. See, I never would have thought about that. I just figured, it's better to like tell the person, right? Like, hey, there's this person that I want to date, But
Right. It is. I mean, yes, absolutely. It is something you should probably share with your partner, but don't use that as the springboard for, I think we should open our relationship. Now,
okay.
if the two of you sort of talk it over and that's what you mutually come to, like, that's another story entirely. And that's probably the healthier way to do it. But otherwise, it's sort of like pushing a little too much on the other person's comfort levels.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say, do you have any advice for people that might find themselves in that situation?
Yeah, and that is, bring it up, be honest, and don't get too invested, because it's entirely possible that the other person is not going to be comfortable. Maybe they'll
Hmm.
be comfortable with it later on. Maybe they need some time to process, but let the other person set their boundaries.
Yeah.
Um, when So it wasn't quite the situation, but when my ex-wife and I first got engaged, she had never tried being poly at all.
Okay.
I'm not even sure at that point she knew that I identified as poly. Um, but she had the sense that I was looking for more in a relationship, not, I think, through anything specific that I said, just like, I'm a very active person, very outgoing, and she is very much kind of not that.
Yeah.
And so she was the one who suggested opening the relationship and was like, hey,
Really?
I think that you're looking for more than I can really give you, so why don't we try opening the relationship and you can find that with other people, which surprised the heck out of me, because
Yeah, I
I
was
was
gonna
like,
say. And this
dude,
was like
wait,
during your engagement?
yeah, yeah, basically.
Wow.
Yeah,
Hmm.
it was a long engagement, 2 years. She was in
Okay.
grad school, and so we were like, yeah, let's stay engaged for a few years so that you're not planning a wedding and writing a thesis at the same time.
Yeah, that's really smart.
Yeah,
That's considerate. Okay. So how did that go at that stage in your relationship?
right. And so, getting to the point that I was talking about, with maybe they'll be comfortable with it later on, maybe they need some time to process. Because she'd never done this before, I spent basically the next 2 years, almost until we were married, um, just taking baby steps, being like, hey, so I thought that person was cute. You okay
Mm-hmm.
with that? Hey, I was flirting with that person. Are you okay with that? Hey, I hugged that person, or kissed that person. You okay with that? And just making sure bit by bit that she was comfortable with it, because the last thing that I wanted to do was be like, oh, you opened a relationship, okay, bye.
Yeah, it's like, oh hey, I
And
just banged that girl.
right,
Hey, I just banged that guy. No big
yeah,
deal.
yeah,
Okay. Well,
easing
that's
into
really good
this.
to hear. That's really good to hear. I don't know. Maybe I'm just like have really no experience with it, but it's good that it's like, okay, this is a conversation we had and let's like warm up to it, because I feel like a lot of people would just be like, doors open. Let's do this.
And I've seen that so many times, and it usually ends pretty badly.
Yeah. So it seems like you really have to. I think there might be a misconception like, oh, people that do that, don't care as much about their partners, or that it's like selfish or like stuff like that. When really, I think it takes a lot more caring and compassion to be in an open relationship versus a closed
To be in a
one.
healthy open relationship, yeah.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, there are absolutely people, and unfortunately a lot of people, who use being poly as an excuse to just put a veneer of acceptability over shitty behavior.
Yep.
um yeah, I haven't had this myself, but Corgi and Saf have both dated people where they've been like, "Yay, I'm poly," and they're like, "Does your partner know you're poly?" And they're like, "Well,
Absolutely not.
no."
Immediately no. Immediately no.
Next.
I've been on like the receiving end of that, which I feel like we talked about that a little bit. I won't get into too much detail, but the person being like, yeah, I'm poly, and I'm like, okay, so when can I like meet your partner? And they're like, no. Not doing that. Yeah. Doesn't sound very open to me. I do have one burning question. Okay. Do you ever get jealous, and how do you deal with it?
Oh, the $1,000,000 question.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So, being poly does not mean you never get jealous. I absolutely get jealous. Everyone gets jealous.
Yeah.
If you don't get jealous, you might be a robot.
Or lying. Or you're lying.
Or
For sure.
lying. Yes. Probably to yourself. Yeah. So, how do you deal with jealousy? There are workshops on how to do this, on how to deal with this stuff in a healthy way. There are classes. There are lectures. So, jealousy, the way I best deal with jealousy is to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
So say, hey, I'm glad that you're having fun, or that you have this thing, or whatever. I'm feeling a little bit jealous about it, so I might be sensitive about things around that. I might be a little bit prickly, might be a little bit sad. And this is something I've had to deal with in partners as well. Them coming to me and saying, you're having so much fun with this other person, and I'm a little jealous that I don't get to do that too. And so it's all about coming to an arrangement. Whatever works in the situation. Sometimes jealousy might just be something you need to sit with and process.
Yeah.
And eventually you might get over it. Sometimes it's something that can be addressed by doing something else. Maybe Like if I go off, actually, this is a great example. So Saf and I just went to Vegas a couple of weeks ago,
Yes, yes.
which was amazing. But I'd been to Vegas with Corgi like probably a half dozen times before that.
Oh, really?
And Saf was like, "Hey, you keep going with this person. Like, when do we get to go?" And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
"Yeah, I'm happy to take you there. Let's
Yeah.
do that." Um, so yeah, finding what the root of that jealousy is, identifying what it is that would help you feel better about it. Sometimes it might just be, feeling like the person knows and listens to you and supports you.
Mm-hmm.
And then coming up with a way that works for both of you to address it.
Okay. That's so healthy. Isn't that great? I just love that so much. Healthily
Uh,
processing jealousy. What do you
but
know?
polyamory is the deviant and unhealthy behavior.
Yeah, right? Isn't that crazy how that works? Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds
It's almost like
great.
communication is required in any relationship,
I know. And the more you communicate, the better quality relationships you have.
right? Right?
Insane. What a
Mm.
concept. Um, are there any times where you haven't been able to get to the bottom of jealousy or that's like kind of ended a partnership for you?
Hmm. Um, I
And
think, yeah. Yeah. So it's especially sometimes in new relationships, like if the person is one of the other person in the relationship is exhibiting a lot of jealousy. Sometimes that's a sign the relationship may just not be right between the two of you.
yeah.
Longer term relationships, I'm not sure if it was jealousy exactly, but one of the relationships that ended right before the pandemic
Ooh,
was a long term relationship. It had been going for about 7 years, I think.
holy crap.
Um, and the person just, there was always something else that she was jealous about, and I'm not
Okay.
sure we ever successfully got to the root of where that was all coming from.
Mm-hmm.
But it really seemed like a moving goalpost. It was like, okay, I'm feeling awkward about this or envious about this or whatever. Okay, what can we do to address that? X, Y, Z. Okay, let's do that. And then as soon as that was over, it was something else. And then when we addressed that, it was something else. And so it really felt like it was um, just something that maybe she was not being honest with herself about. Maybe there was
Mm,
something about her causing this that she didn't want to accept. Maybe I was asking the wrong questions. I don't know.
yeah.
But eventually, um, yeah, things like just got to be untenable, and so the relationship ended.
Okay. So, how are your partnerships? I'm just gonna ask you to dissect your entire romantic life. Just live
That's
on
what
the
I'm here
internet.
for.
Yeah. So tell us more about your partners and then maybe like how are like the dynamics different, what
Mm.
needs does one person meet, etc. Stuff like that.
Hmm. Okay. Um. Yeah. So. Wow. I have to really marshal my thoughts here.
Yeah,
Okay. So I guess the first thing to start with is, what do I consider a relationship?
there we go.
Um, and that's a question that I've kind of been looking for an answer to for years for myself,
Okay.
because relationships come in all different forms. I have two people, Corgi and Saf, that I've mentioned, who are very strong, prominent forces in my life. I,
Okay.
spend multiple, uh, not evenings a week or days a week with each of them. There are some people who are maybe a little more transient, and
Okay.
that's either because of the relationship dynamics between us or location, whatever. There's one person that I've seen twice because she lives in Prague,
Mhm.
and I've but we've been in touch for 2.5 years now.
Okay.
Since December of 2019, since before I started dating either Corgi or Saf.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a relationship? I mean, yes, it's a relationship. Is it a capital R romantic relationship? I don't know. I'm not sure how to
Yeah.
classify some of these things. Those
Okay.
comet relationships that I mentioned earlier, how do you
Mm.
classify those? Like, they're
Just like
people
that.
who, yeah, exactly. I will see repeatedly. Maybe it's once every like 8 months, once a year. I don't know. People I care about, people I do have emotional investment in that I'll support if they have difficulty, and when we see each other, yeah, absolutely, we'll like make out, have sex, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not we're not like the most important thing in each other's lives or anything. It's just kind
Yeah.
of like stay in touch every so often. So I guess for this, yeah, I'll just talk about the about Corgi and Saf. So each of them are people where we knew each other for years before we started dating.
Okay.
The aforementioned person who was like just jealous about one thing after another
Mm-hmm.
was actually how I met Corgi.
Okay.
And
Interesting.
eventually ended up being someone that Saf and I sort of met through, sort of not. But yeah, so there are like some interesting entwined dynamics there. And in both cases, they were like, well, I really want to date this person, but I sort of feel like I should stay away from this other person that he's with. And so that's why it took 5 years
Okay.
for any of those relationships to get going. And Corky's my age. Saf is about a decade younger. And as far as like things that they fulfill, Saf is much more into like the video games, gaming thing, nerd culture. We go to
Mm-hmm.
cons together, that sort of thing. Sort of staying in and doing a lot of indoor stuff.
Okay.
And as you've probably seen, that could be like we stream together on Twitch, or like we do these ridiculous things, but it's still fundamentally kind of here. Whereas Corgi is the person that I've gone off and gone to music festivals with, gone to these large energetic events.
Okay.
Because that's sort of what we both were looking for, and sort of what the tone of our relationship was. And things got pretty tightly entwined over the course of the pandemic. I started dating Saf in the middle of the pandemic.
Yeah.
So that was already kind of a bit of a shift in the dynamics between Corgi and I.
Okay.
And we had to bubble up together, and so we were basically the only 3 people who like that we all saw, besides Corgi and her family. So yeah, like things got a little weird, and then we sort of like decided to sort of consciously separate the relationships, because the 3 of us together were just not quite making it work.
Okay, yeah. Getting a little weird. Do you want to go into that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So it was a lot. This is actually another great thing to be aware of if you're opening up your relationship. Because here's what the situation was.
That is Swoon's Kit. It is.
Hi, Qui-Gon Jinn. It is. So Corgi and I had a decently established relationship. We've been going out for like 6 months when Saf and I started dating. So we already had our rhythm, we already had our stuff, and we had been working on coming to terms with the pandemic together, and really just like glomming on to each other, because we were like, oh my god, we need someone to survive this. We can't just sit in our places alone, like.
And especially in California, the regulations were very strict.
Yeah.
At the beginning of the pandemic.
Absolutely. And then Saf kind of gets dropped into this, and so like Corgi and I have already been like this and really figuring out how to make things work.
Okay.
And Saf is a new person who like came into this dynamic, and just if she was dating me, it made sense to bubble up together and have all three
Mm-hmm.
of us together. Um,
Oh, wow. I
but
can see how this could get a little sticky.
Exactly. Yeah. So here, Corgi and I were this tightly coupled unit, and Zaf was coming into it and being like, "Hey, I want to be a part of this," and trying to establish a foothold there in something that was already extant. And so
Mm-hmm.
uh, there was a lot of stuff where Zaf was like, "Hey, you guys are really like presenting as a couple versus me in
Mm-hmm.
this situation, and I don't feel like everything is going equally or being treated fairly." um, and Corey was like, "Well, there's this new person and there's a lot of stuff to just like get used to changing and
Mm-hmm.
to a new dynamic." And it worked out for a little bit, but it eventually ended up just that Saf and I really had to establish our own rhythm and our own dynamic, because the way it was working was that Saf was sort of like establishing a dynamic with both Corgi and I,
Mm-hmm.
and trying to inject herself into something that was already there, but wasn't necessarily what she wanted
Yeah.
out of a relationship. And so she felt like she was being like squashed into a box that she didn't necessarily want to be squashed into,
Okay.
if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
yeah, the relationship between Saf and I just needed time to grow and time to become its own thing. And what it is now is very, very different than what it was trying to be then, and what it could have been then.
Okay. Do you
So
guys
yeah.
ever like all hang out, or is it like did you just separate like entirely, or how does that work?
Yeah. Sometimes we all hang out. They both did some amazing work to throw a party for me for my birthday a couple months
Aw.
ago, and we were it was kind of like being back in the early days of the pandemic
Yeah.
relationship thing. We were like still getting to know each other
Mm-hmm.
and chatting and joking around. Um, but by and large, things have been pretty separate so far. And as we emerge from the pandemic, and as we start going to a bunch more things, and Saf gets used to going to a lot of these things with me, that is probably going to change. So
Okay.
yeah,
We got a really
we'll
good question from Rose. She wants to know if someone wants kids, what does it look like? Are other partners
Mm.
involved? Is it the two that have the kids thing? No, that makes perfect sense. That's a great
Yeah.
question.
Yeah,
So do
no,
you have
that
any
is a great question.
experience with that?
Well, so Corky has two kids herself,
Oh.
so a little bit, yeah. And I've absolutely dated partners who have kids,
Mm-hmm.
but I've never actually had any kids with anyone myself.
A
So
kid
exactly.
free out here.
So the ways to handle that are almost as numerous as the ways to conduct a poly relationship in the first
Mm-hmm.
place. So I've seen polycules where there will be just two people who are like, "Hey, we want to have kids together," and they sort of like become a larger force in each other's lives. I've seen, I've actually met kids who were raised by poly families, and had like several dads, several moms, stuff like that. There's a lot of
Interesting.
actually, yeah, there are a lot of fascinating case studies about children of polycules, and
I
sort
bet.
of what the advantages and disadvantages of those are.
Mm-hmm.
The most commonly cited advantage by the kids that I've seen is that they always have someone who can take them to like soccer practice or theater or whatever.
Oh.
There's always someone who can give them a ride, or
That's pure.
be there
That's
for them,
cute.
be supportive for them. And the most commonly cited downside I've seen from kids of polyamorous families is that it's a lot harder to get away with stuff. Because if you try and check in with your mom or your dad, you're like, oh, but mom said so. It's easier with 2 people. When you're trying to
Mm-hmm.
fool 4 people,
Yeah. The adults outsmart you for sure.
yeah, exactly. But yeah, if someone wants kids, then it's something that they should work out with, whoever their long-term relationships are. Yeah, or well, all their current relationships actually,
Mm-hmm.
because there might be some people who are like, yeah, I know we're kind of casual, but I'm not really into kids. So if you want to have kids, then bye, best of luck.
Yeah.
There's some people who might actually, want kids with that person. Who knows?
Yeah.
And that's a discussion to have.
So I just kind of want your opinion about this. I've noticed, like, thinking about getting into poly relationships, a lot of people have like primary partners. So do you think that's something you should establish like first, like you have a primary partner and then you open your relationship, or you kind of go in and there's this like acknowledgement like, hey, like this is, I hate to use the term main squeeze, but like main
I've actually heard
squeeze.
several people use that term.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to be really unhelpful here, and again say it depends.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
It's a very good lawyer answer.
Yeah. So, oh my God, I never even thought about the parallels there.
Oh yeah.
So, so hierarchical poly is absolutely a valid way of conducting your relationships, and it's something that a lot of people ascribe to. When I was married, I practiced that. It's sort of hard not to if you're married to someone, because you're legally entwined with them, you're living with them. Like there's a lot of like it's hard not to have privacy there. There's always going to be some degree of that. And some people will say, well, that's true, but you can still have those legal arrangements or practical arrangements, but have some other primary romantic partner. That may be true, but I think it's very, very difficult to do well.
Yeah.
So yeah, there may be very practical reasons for establishing a primary relationship. I would sort of say back then that the 2 people I was seriously entwined with were both primary in different ways, because the life with my wife was very much a sort of practical thing. It was a housekeeping thing. It was we're a unit together. We love each other, and there's a lot of that in the household. But just our needs were so very different that my needs for sex or for going out or for doing any of that sort of stuff were all met by the other partner that I wasn't living with. And so I was like, well, she's my primary partner for those things.
Yeah. Okay.
But that's sort of sidestepping the term a little bit, I think, because most people are like, wait, you can't have 2 primary people, then no one's primary.
Yeah, I never thought about
but
that.
There's also something that I'm trying to practice right now, which is solo polyamory, where you give each relationship the space that it takes up, and that is going to naturally ebb and flow as one or the other of you get partners, as life circumstances change. If someone has a kid, for example, they're going to be a lot less available as a romantic person if you're not also involved with a child. Honestly, as a romantic partner, probably even if you are involved with a child. And I think that's a much more realistic way to practice polyamory, is just saying, okay, so we recognize that all of these things are dynamic, that these are all relationships in motion. Things are going to change. Nothing is static. So we'll see where things fit, as they go on. And then there's just relationship anarchy, where everyone's like, well, I'm not going to call anyone girlfriend, partner, or whatever, just whatever we do is whatever we do, and anarchy, chaos.
Just let it do its thing.
Yeah,
However it evolves. So have you ever been in like, for lack of better words, like a triangle type relationship situation where like you're with someone who's like also dating the other person you're dating, or do you have any experience with that?
Yeah, so that's really very similar to the situation that Corey and Saf and I got into during the
Yeah.
pandemic. Um, just kind of by circumstance.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very difficult. It requires a lot of work. I always joke that polyamory is twice the relationship for three times the work, or three times the relationships for five times the work.
Yeah.
Um, and it's very, very easy to have that go badly.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, I've only been in it very, very briefly. I do know people who have had very stable triad relationships
Wow.
or quad relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And they've gone pretty well. It's always fantastic to see those. Like I love seeing
Yeah.
people who can actually make it work. I'm always a
I
little bit
agree.
in awe.
Yeah, I'm just over here like I can't even manage one relationship. I don't understand.
Right.
I couldn't. Like how would I do multiple ones with like different people? I mean, I guess it's just all about communication, right? Open communication. So,
That is usually what it comes down to.
yeah. Well, thank you so much for everything. Is there anything else you want to like talk about? Something like we didn't get into? Something
Oh,
you want to
geez.
vent about? You know, have any bones to pick with polyamory or
Any bones to pick with polyamory?
yeah.
I don't think I've come up with any downsides that we haven't talked about.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, look, we've already established it's a lot of work and it's going to take a lot of communication. It's difficult to find people who are willing to engage in that sort of relationship structure, even here in the Bay Area.
Yeah.
People are fairly fairly monogamous still. Oh my God, right. The difference between polyamory and swinging.
Ooh, oh, that's a great topic. I love that. Let's hear
Yes,
it.
yes. This is the other one that people always ask me. They're like, "Oh, so you're just like having sex with other people's spouses, and like you have these huge parties where you go and like there's this bowl full of keys, right?"
The only reason I know about that is this episode of That 70s Show. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's like they go to the party and they don't know. That's great. I also learned
I
that
haven't seen it.
the pineapple is like the universal symbol of swingers or something. Is that?
Yes, but
I'm like, is that why I love pineapple? Like,
probably. Okay, yes, let's get into polyamory versus swinging, and then we'll get into the pineapple thing. 'Cause the
okay,
pineapple thing is
awesome.
also a lot of fun.
Wonderful.
So polyamory, as both groups tend to define it, swinging is less about any sort of emotional connection. It's more like couples meet other couples or single people, and they're like, okay, let's just do some stuff, and then they leave the event, and they're just the couple again.
Mm-hmm.
I've been to a lot of swinger parties. I've been to a lot of swinger clubs. They tend to be very normative in every possible aspect. Very heteronormative, very mononormative. So very
Gross.
focused on heterosexuality, on monogamy. Yeah.
The straights are not okay. Anyway.
Corky and I met another couple, a friend of hers and his girlfriend, and then decided to go to a swinger club to just see what happens, and ended up all sort of like playing together. And there was some other couple on the couch next to us who were like just disgusted that two women would be kissing each other. Like,
Oh my goodness.
I know, scandal.
Right. I definitely don't want to
some-
see a video of that. What? No.
Some people are. I'm amazed at how conservative swinger culture can be for something that's about like sleeping with other people
I
outside of your
know.
marriage.
Yeah, you know. Wow.
But yeah, also fairly intolerant of people who have anything other than an ideal body type, or the further away from an ideal body type as presented by media. The less accepted you are in swinger culture. So it's there's a lot of stuff that they need to work through.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm dumping on swingers a lot here. It's a pastime.
Yeah.
Um, but I should also say, like, some people, really do find themselves drawn to that over polyamory, which is a lot more about relationships. It's a lot more about like establishing what sort of feelings, or like including other people in your lives, and actually like um, taking the person as a person rather than just someone to sleep with.
Yeah.
Not to say that swingers don't like get regularly involved with other people, or that polyamorous people are all just, we do it for the love instead of just we want to fuck someone.
Yeah.
um but yeah, I think culturally there are some pretty strong differences there.
Okay.
Now, pineapples.
Yes.
Yes, pineapples. So long ago in history, pineapples used to be, and I think this is somewhere around the 19th century, mid to late 19th century, I think.
Okay. Okay.
Maybe earlier. Actually, this may be more like Regency era, so like 1820s or so, post French Revolution. Pineapples were difficult to get a hold of. You can't grow pineapples in Europe,
Okay.
not easily anyway. So like they became this huge status symbol. There were companies where you could rent a pineapple to take with you to a party, just to show that you were the type of person who could own a pineapple. And then you would take it back to the place that rented it from you, and they would rent it to someone else the next weekend.
Okay. Interesting. Okay.
And so they became the status symbol, and through that, because they were the sort of thing that you would display prominently at a party, sort of segued into becoming a symbol for hospitality.
Okay.
And through that, swingers were like, oh, we're very hospitable. You want to come over here, right?
That's awesome.
It sort of became a symbol for swingers. Now, unfortunately, and I don't know the provenance of this one, pineapples have somehow also become sort of a symbol for people who have been wrestling with infertility.
Really?
And I'm really curious what the path there is.
Yeah, where's that evolution?
Yeah. Huh. And
so it's like, okay, you either want to like sleep around or you can't have a kid. That's kind of sad. It's like, how do you ask which is which?
Yeah, and it's a little awkward because like Corky's sister, is someone who's grappled with the latter of these, and come to terms with a lot of the stuff that she's had to deal with. And so she has pineapples all over her house. And Corky visits her, and she's always like, do I tell her? I really want to tell her, but
I think yes. I think somebody needs to tell her.
So partially to disambiguate, swingers have started turning their pineapples upside down. So if you see an upside down pineapple, that's
upside
a
down
surefire
pineapple.
sign.
Okay. Yeah. Good to know.
That's how you know.
I'll just never forget, like, I always talk about how much I love like pineapples, and there was this one guy that I worked for at Domino's that had a pineapple tattoo, and I remember being like, I love your tattoo. And now I'm like, I wonder if he thought that meant I was a swinger. I just really love pineapples. Like, it's that core memory is just stuck in my head.
Most people outside of swinging culture don't really know about the pineapple thing.
Yeah. So maybe he thought it was just an innocent,
Yeah.
Oh, I like your pineapple tattoo, not, oh, I like your pineapple tattoo.
Well, and also, like, if it was at a pizza parlor, you may have just liked pineapple pizza, right?
That's
Hawaiian
true.
Pizza.
Yeah. All right. I'm safe for another day.
Yes.
What else? I feel like I always have so many questions and then they just leave my brain immediately.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, we can do an episode 2 of this if we need to.
yeah, I would love that. I really, I guess, do you have any like horror stories of like poly dates gone sour or anything like that?
So there were a couple of times where I was on a date with someone and a coworker happened to walk into the same place without knowing, what was up in my life.
Yeah.
But having met my wife,
Oh.
so certainly some very hurried and hushed like conversations, being like, okay, so here's the situation. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and since then, I actually have the luxury of having sort of softly come out at work as being poly. Like it's an open secret. It's not something that I publicize too much, but
But it's like people know.
yeah, some people know. Yeah, like I'll drop something about my partner, or something that I was doing, or basically stuff where if they wanted to piece the information together, they could do
That
so.
they could, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. There was, oh my god. There was one time where Corgi and I each had dates separately, but both in my town here. She actually lives about 40 minutes away in another part of the city. So we each had dates here. And I was going to make lemon bars to bring to my date, and so we were like, oh, let's go down to the store and get the ingredients. We can make them together. You can take them to your date, and then we'll meet up afterwards to compare notes.
Yeah.
And while we were walking to the store, the person I was going to go on a date with drove by us and honked at us and was waving and pulled over and was like, oh yeah, hey, Corgi, if you want to come over too and have dinner, like, come on over.
Yeah.
She was like, okay, maybe after this date with this dude, I'll stop by. And then like it just turned into an oversharing session where we both got there and we just ended up listening to this person talk about how terrible her life was and like all of her relationship troubles.
Oh no.
And we were both like,
so like it just became not a date anymore.
it became not a date. Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
And that's actually the second time this happened. There was another time where I went to a date. It was a lunch date in the middle of the day, as opposed to the lunch dates you have at the end of the day.
Yeah, late lunch,
Yeah, and the entire, we each had an hour-long lunch break, and so the entire hour, except for the last 5 minutes, was this person talking about the breakup she'd had the night before with her boyfriend. And in the last 5 minutes, she was like, so tell me about yourself. And I'm
oh
like,
my gosh.
What?
When?
Really? Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, some people really just need someone to talk to, I've noticed.
Yeah.
That's...
Yes.
Oh, that's unfortunate. So, like, did you see those people again, or?
The person in the first story, yes. We scheduled our date for a non-therapy time.
Yeah.
The second person, no.
No? Okay, yeah, you're
No.
just like,
and it became pretty clear from a bunch of the stuff that she was talking about that we just weren't compatible. So it was less the talking about the breakup and more just like it wasn't going to work out.
Okay.
Any disastrous, like hilariously disastrous date stories? I feel like I have some.
Oh yeah, you probably do.
It's one of those things when someone tells you or asks you, hey, tell me a joke, like all of a sudden
that happened to me the other night. It was awful. I was like, I know the delivery was bad, okay? You don't have to tell me. But, like, who does that? Who's like, tell me a joke? Like, Google it. I don't know.
Right? You can even ask Alexa or Google Assistant or Siri to tell you a joke,
I'm gonna do that next time. I'm gonna bring in technology, because it was painful.
Yeah.
Let's see. What else do I want to know about polyamory? Are there any... do you have like people that you started dating and then just like became friends with afterwards, or like you realize, oh, this didn't work, but we're better friends? And is that any different than like, I guess I'm interested in how relationships are different than monogamous ones, and if you've had any like good monogamous experiences, I suppose, versus.
In that regard, I don't think they are or necessarily have to be.
Okay.
I guess depends on whether you're the type of person to burn your bridges or not.
Yeah.
Even when I was dating monogamously, I was still friends with people after we broke up.
Really.
I still am friends with some of those people. You know, every time I go back home to Iowa, you know, I look one or two of them up, and I'm like,
Mhm.
hey, you know, so tell me what's been happening with you. And same with poly,
Mhm.
especially if you're involved in the non-monogamous community or the kink community or the sex positive community. No matter where you are, it's going to be a fairly small community, and you're going to just run into each other over and over and over again.
Yeah.
So if you can't figure out how to get along, you're in trouble. And I think this really is another benefit of focusing on communication in the relationship, because that increases the odds that you're going to have a good relationship post breakup, rather than not communicating, someone feeling betrayed, anger creeping in,
Mhm.
or you know, lack of respect or whatever. So yeah, like, are there people that I don't get along with post breakup? Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
But I'd say the norm for me, at least, is more to at least keep those people in my life in some way. Maybe that's
Yeah.
just as Facebook friends. Maybe like we comment on our posts, on each other's posts every
Mhm.
so often. But chances are I'm going to see them at some point. So
Yeah.
I'd rather everything be copacetic.
Yeah, that's really good. I need to take a leaf from your book there. That's
I'll write that book and then send you an advance copy.
Okay, that sounds great. Amazing. Yeah, I guess I've never really seen monogamous relationships work. So, I'm like automatically skeptical of a lot of like relationship dynamics, right?
Well, yeah. So I've got a theory about that, and mind you, this is just a theory.
Let's hear it.
But look at all the media that we consume. Look at all the TV
Mhm.
shows, all the movies, especially all the music that we hear on the radio. Look at how toxic so many of those stories are.
I know.
Every like could Can you have a sitcom without just people communicating badly? I think if you took that away and added poly, like you would have no sitcom left ever.
Yeah.
Um, how many movies are founded on toxic principles of relationships? Like, you
Yeah.
know, one of the worst being keep on trying and you'll get the person. Like, don't take no for an answer. Fucker, no, take no for an answer.
Literally. Yeah, boundaries, respect them. A
Right.
concept.
And then the one that has become my most recent, most hated trope, in especially music, but also in movies and stuff, is the concept of the one. You're supposed to find the
Mm.
one. You're supposed to find someone who's everything to you. I don't want to be anyone's one. That's a lot of
So,
pressure.
so much pressure.
I don't I don't want anyone to be everything to me. I don't want to be everything to anyone.
Exactly.
Uh, that's a terrible relationship dynamic. Yet it's held up in all of these things as the thing you want to strive for.
I know.
And so people find it very easy to buy into that, because it's very easy not to question the narratives that were fed, the scripts that were given. It's very easy to take those on and be like, oh, this is being presented to me with a happy soundtrack, therefore it's something I should strive for.
Mhm.
Um, and you're going to find a lot of people who don't examine the way that they go into relationships or the
Yeah.
way they handle themselves in relationships. People who just take on everything that they're fed without questioning it. And you're probably not going to find anyone in a poly relationship who hasn't at least done some reflection.
Yeah.
But you're going to find a lot of people in monogamous relationships who haven't done any reflection at all.
It just blows my mind. Rose says, I had to consider a lot with my divorce. If my ex was supposed to be the one, have I missed out? I don't think so. Yeah, that's
So
a great way to look at it.
Yeah, I really hate the concept of the one. I wish it would die a fiery, flaming death.
Same. Even like I go back and listen to like music just like from me growing up in like the 90s, early 2000s. I'm like some of these messages are very toxic. Like
Yeah.
just like and I'm just like 10 years old like singing along, right? I don't know what it means. And it's like just now at this age I'm really starting to dissect everything that I've been taught and like it's really surprising some of the things that I used to see or consume that were just so damaging as far as like my ideas of relationships. Like all the music that I used to listen to that was so just codependent. That like
Oh my God. Yes.
glamorizes codependency. I mean, I was like past me really needed therapy. Like
Yeah.
if this is what I was listening to, yikes.
But again, it's very easy to just buy into that and not question
Mhm.
it because it's what everyone sort of idolizes. It's what we've been told to idolize.
Yeah. So let's see. Even as a personally monogamous person, your partner cannot be the only one to fulfill all of your needs. I agree.
Yeah.
That's why friendships are so important, and that's why the emphasis on the one is damaging too, because it's like that's supposed to be your best friend, and the only person in your life. Like that's, yeah. Codependency
Yeah.
trends are
The
very prevalent.
yeah. The only time I will stand up for the one is if we're talking about the Jet Li movie from the 1996 or something.
Yeah. Okay, you're gonna have to give my youngin' self the explanation there. I don't get the
It was
reference.
just a martial arts movie from Jet Li
Okay.
is a famous martial artist.
Yeah, I know that,
Lots
but like I
of
didn't
yeah.
know if there was like some secret reference there I was supposed to
No,
get.
no. It's just a stupid movie. Actually, it's not even a great movie. It's a
Yeah.
terrible movie, but it's got Jet Li, so I'm going to love it basically unabashedly and unironically,
Oh yeah, you have
while
to.
still recognizing that it's horrible because
Yeah.
it was 1996. People are still figuring out computer effects and
Oh Lord.
fashion.
I saw like a clip of The Matrix. I was watching some documentary or something and I saw it and I was like, wow, that was like state of the art back then.
Yeah.
Thinking
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah, I watched The Matrix right before the new one came out.
I
What
need
was
to
it, a
see
couple
that
months
still.
ago? And I was really confused how I thought those effects were like mind blowing at the time.
Yeah. Yeah, we thought they were so good. And like going back,
right?
it's like, oh wow. They did their best. Also, okay, so I have to bring this up because I'm thinking about it. I think it's like an NSYNC song or something. Like I remember I used to listen to NSYNC a lot back in the early 2000s. And I remember listening to it now. I'm like, oh yeah, this is like a throwback. And I'm like listening to the lyrics. And I just, instead of being like, oh, this is like so catchy and this is so sweet, like, I just keep thinking like, these are the lyrics of a man not respecting a woman's boundaries. It's like these are like ideals about like being possessive of women and like stuff like that. So it just makes me think like what other aspects of society kind of like inherently push those values that we just don't even recognize.
Well, sadly, I think the answer is basically all of them.
Mm-hmm.
What other aspects of society? Yeah, like Robin Thicke's Blurred Lines. Terrible song.
Yes. Oh my god. And I thought it was just annoying because of the music. And then you go
No.
back and really listen to the lyrics, you're like, hello?
I think this guy is a molester. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are a number of songs which just are not good.
There's like this TikTok trend where it's like someone's telling someone something and then they think it's like cute or whatever, and then the person on the other end is like, that sounds like a crime, and like the Law and Order music plays where it's like dun 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 dun, and that's how we've like made light of it, right? But
Right.
a lot of women especially have heard stories from like their grandmothers, where it's like, oh yeah, your grandfather was 15 years older than me and he just wouldn't leave me alone. So like eventually I said yes and here we are. It's like grandma, you have Stockholm syndrome. Like that's scary to think about. I don't know. So
Yeah.
here we are. We live in a society. Isn't
But
that
the
great?
good news is these things are actually starting to get recognized, and so I have hope that in the future we can at least change a lot of these narratives.
Yeah.
One of the most difficult things about really getting involved in polyamorous relationships in a big way was having to figure everything out from scratch. Like I alluded to earlier, the easy and seductive thing about monogamous relationships, or buying into any of these other tropes that we're fed, is that you don't have to think about them. You're handed a script and you get to follow it. You're like, okay, I get married, I buy a house, I have kids. That's the normal, that's the relationship escalator and the life escalator, right? As soon as you depart from that, there's basically no script for what you're supposed to do, and you're like, well, this is a little fucking daunting.
Yeah.
I've got to figure all the shit out for myself now. So as we get more and more visibility into other ways of living our own lives, healthier ways, I certainly hope,
Yes.
that should become more prevalent. People will see that there are other options. People will have scripts for hopefully exhibiting healthy relationship behaviors.
Yeah. Agreed. Have you read any good like literature or watched any good like movies about like polyamory to help you kind of develop this script of yours? Do you have one?
Yeah, so there are a number of books which are great starting points. I really like Opening Up by Tristan Taormino.
Okay.
Taormino.
We have Google, it's
I'll have
fine.
to drop a link to the chat or something.
Yeah.
Opening Up is the name
Opening
of the book.
Up.
And it lays things out pretty well. One that you will see mentioned a fair amount because it's sort of a seminal work in ethical non-monogamy is The Ethical Slut
Ooh,
by Dossie Easton.
I love that.
This was written in the late 70s, so there is a lot of stuff that I think does not quite hold up with modern sensibilities. But if you want to sort of get a groundwork, maybe check it out. I would still go for Opening Up first.
Okay.
There's also another book. Let me see if I can remember the title. I believe it is More Than Two.
Okay. Opening Up, More Than Two.
More Than Two, A Practical Guide to Ethical Polyamory by Franklin Vo and Eve Rickert.
Awesome.
And the foreword is apparently written by Janet Hardy, who was Dossie Easton's co-author of The Ethical Slut.
Ooh.
So that's where I would start with the books. As far as any other media, I think this really gets back to what I said at the very beginning, with it being difficult to find healthy portrayals of polyamory.
Yeah.
In media right now. We're still kind of on the upswing where we're starting to see it, but it's still portrayed as deviant somehow, and as often as not, is probably going to be something that is a characteristic of the antagonist or the villain in a story, because it helps establish that they're deviant.
Yeah.
So I don't know. There was that episode in How to Build a Sex Room with the poly group.
Ooh.
So if you
that-
haven't been watching that series, I recommend it.
Is that on Netflix?
Netflix, yeah.
Okay, I was gonna say that sounds familiar. I might have started watching that.
Yeah.
And didn't finish it, like with every show I start that's new.
I thought I had a pretty good bedroom, and then I watched this show, and now I'm like, it's all shit.
I gotta redo it.
Redecorate.
I love a good redecoration. I really do. I did remember a question that I wish I had asked like an hour ago. Okay, so how do you communicate And I mean, I guess we kind of talked about it, but like, how do you communicate with your partners about other people? Is it one of those things where like you have a certain amount of time to tell them about new people, otherwise it's considered cheating? Also, what is cheating in
Mm.
polyamory? Those are two
Oh,
ones I've been meaning to
good
ask.
question.
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. Also, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Does the microphone sound better this way or this way?
I think both ways your voice
Both ways?
sounds
Okay.
immaculate.
This is
So
fine,
I kind of
and this is
like,
also fine.
it's like a little bit more direct. I like
This way?
this way, yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I suddenly had this like debilitating uncertainty that or distracting, I should say, distracting
Yes.
uncertainty about having set the microphone up. And I was like, have I been speaking into the microphone backwards this entire time?
Oh my gosh.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
Oh my god. I hate those
Yes.
things. This so distracting. It's like I can't think about anything else. But yes, you're good.
Cheating and communication about other partners, right? So as far as communication about other partners, I've done a couple of things. Oh wow, this makes sense now. Huh. The partner the ex I mentioned earlier, who just had one thing after another, and just needed one thing after another. We had a bunch of agreements. We had an entire Google Doc full of agreements that we had made. And there were agreements about, how long we could wait before telling each other about a partner, what the acceptable things to do were before telling someone about a new partner. This is all seeming a lot like someone who had a lot of jealousy issues, isn't it?
Yeah.
trying to exert control. Yeah, wow, that makes a lot more sense now. I've tried doing it that way. The current relationships I have are much more fluid, much freer. Obviously, actually, maybe not obviously. I shouldn't say that because it might not be obvious. But we do tell each other about, if we sleep with someone else, just because it's really good to do from a sexual health perspective.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're sleeping around with a lot of people, and presumably you care about the people that you're sleeping with, and you're not a monster.
Yeah.
You want to be sexually safe. Just letting someone know if there's like another person or people that we've slept with. But on top of that, like, we're legitimately happy for each other. Like, I love hearing about the stuff that Corgi gets up to. She actually just last night went to a new party and slept with someone. I was like, oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. I'm so glad you two finally hit it off.
Yeah.
It's also fun because this is someone I have a date with tomorrow.
Yeah.
So I get to hear about it from the other side too.
Yeah, that's
which is
awesome.
delightful. There's no like rules about, you have to tell me within 24 hours if you slept with someone, or hey, you need to let me know about a crush, otherwise it's cheating if you go out with them, or anything like that. Stuff happens,
Yeah.
and really I just want to make sure that the people I'm seeing are happy. And if the part of that is just going out and hooking up with someone randomly in a bar or something, or whatever, that's great.
Yeah.
I'm really happy that they're happy, and I really don't want to be put in the position of like controlling anything about their other relationships. If they do something that I don't entirely agree with, or that I find a problem with for some reason, then that's up to me to sort that out, and to if I feel like I need to distance myself from them for a little while until something gets resolved, or handle that on my side. I'm not going to say they can't do anything. I don't want to do that, and they don't want to do that for me either. That's I think one of the foundations of a good, healthy poly relationship is not trying to exert control over
Yeah.
someone. Now, as far as cheating, can you cheat if you're polyamorous? Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
absolutely.
Yeah, cheating is just a violation of agreements in a relationship. Um, Obviously, sleeping with someone if you're monogamous is a violation of one of those agreements. Um, but people also consider it cheating if you just are like texting with some or like sexting with someone outside of a
Mm-hmm.
monogamous relationship. So yeah, like if okay, one of the easiest examples is you agree to only have sex without condoms with a person or two people or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and then you go out and you don't use a condom with someone else. That would be cheating.
Yeah.
um, there's any number of ways to violate relationship agreements. um, and that's not like one person trying to control the other. That's stuff that people have mutually agreed to, and oftentimes is actually for one person's safety or both
Yeah.
people's safety.
Yeah. I just it's interesting for me to try to wrap my head around cheating in polyamory, just because like you said, you don't want to be like controlling. So it's like, how do you set boundaries that honor how you feel about things, but like without being like unnecessarily like stifling of this other person's life? So
Yeah, that's a good question. And ultimately, it's down to the individual people involved to negotiate. You and the other person or people. If you're like, hey, I really need a night with you after you go and see someone else because otherwise I'm going to feel shitty.
mm-hmm.
That's something that is not like anything damaged with you, first of all, um, and also something that a loving and caring partner would listen to and try to probably accommodate if you were someone that they cared about.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
mm, I'm just thinking about my last relationship now. Yikes.
uh, yeah.
Yeah, because like I had proposed several times being in an open
Mhm.
relationship, just because I felt that he was being so dishonest about things, and I'm just like, well, if we're in an open relationship, one, I don't have to expect him to be honest, because
Mhm.
he's already not doing that, and so like I'm adjusting my expectations. But looking back, I don't think that's the healthiest way to view that. you know
Sounds like maybe not.
yeah.
Yeah, I think the difference between like establishing boundaries and control is how you come to the table. If you come to the table uh, uh, from a perspective of yourself, you're like, hey, look, here are some things that I find difficult. Here are some things that I need, and you go in with the honest intention of working with the other person to see
Mm-hmm.
if there's a way that both of you would find amenable to actually address those things. That's great. That's establishing boundaries. That's knowing yourself and doing the best thing for yourself. If you come to the table and you're like, you can't do this, or I don't want you doing this, or I'm going to veto you seeing that person, that's probably a little more like control.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess because the last situation that I was involved in with a polyamorous couple, um, the one partner had some concerns about me and the way that I might treat their partner.
Hmm.
And at first I was like, it seems like they're like looking out for them, right? But then,
Hmm.
thinking about it more, I was like, that just kind of seems like they're like clinging to like one little thing and being like, well, you can't
Yeah.
date that person because they're like this or something like that. So
Yeah, and that was a favorite tactic of the person I keep on bringing up, the
mm-hmm.
ex I keep on bringing up, because she had some mental health issues and was at least partially immunodeficient.
Mm-hmm.
And so she kept on using her health as a reason that I couldn't like even kiss someone, or that I had to clear it with her or something.
Yeah.
So valid valid concern.
Mm-hmm.
The
Absolutely.
immunodeficiency is absolutely a valid concern. um but taking it probably a little bit far and using it in contexts where it didn't exactly seem relevant.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's tricky.
it is.
It's, I'm just like, here I am, like, I can't even do one relationship. What makes me think I could have several, right? I want to. It's like, I want to do it. Do you have any things that you struggled with at first with polyamory, and kind of can you like take us through maybe your journey of
Yeah,
overcoming them?
yeah, absolutely. So uh, I think my journey was similar to a lot of people's, and I've seen this time and time again, where someone discovers polyamory. They're like, "Wait, this is an option. This is
Yeah.
amazing." They finally find some people who are like, "Yeah, I'd love to try an open relationship," and then it's like they just release a slingshot. They're like off like a rocket, like
Yeah.
or like a very hyperactive puppy, like, "Oh boy, I'm gonna go over here. Oh no, I'm over here. Oh no, I want to do this. Now I want to do this. Oh, you're interesting. Ha ha ha
Yeah.
ha." um and it's overwhelming and exhausting to your other partners, and B, can also be very intimidating without communication. So enthusiasm without communication is a surefire recipe for someone to get hurt.
Okay.
um, so learning how to communicate in relationships, learning what were acceptable boundaries, what were maybe overly restrictive boundaries, learning um, what were red flags in poly relationships, were all things that I had to sort of learn the hard way.
Yeah.
Um, the the place I'm at now has been after 10 years of really being like heavily involved in poly communities here
Okay.
in San Francisco, and seeing a lot of other people's relationships go wrong, having a lot of mistakes under my belt as well, uh, so to speak, and also I guess quite literally. Um,
I see what you did there.
eh, um, and yeah, uh, just being able to calm down and put myself in my partner's shoes, or think about whether this is a good idea or not, and especially so one of the big reasons why my then fiance sort of suggested we open up our relationship is because our sex life wasn't great. Like, she was
Yeah.
not someone who needed a lot of sex, um and I definitely needed a lot more than she was capable of giving me, and I
Mm-hmm.
didn't want to like force her into that because
Absolutely,
again,
because you're
I'm
a
not a
decent
monster.
human being. Yeah.
Exactly. um but especially as a cis dude, it's very easy to get into this um mindset of being resource starved for something
Yeah.
like sex, and so just grasping at any possible offer, whether it's a good idea or not. If someone's willing to have sex with you, and you are in a place where that's a relative rarity, um, it's difficult to think about whether this particular idea is good or not, or like
Mm-hmm.
see it as like, oh, I have to take this opportunity because I'm not going to get another one, and really getting the perspective to step back and and for sex, and this goes as well for emotional connection or for any other thing that you need in a relationship, being able to step back and be like, okay, I can find this elsewhere if I need it to. This is not the only person who's going to offer me this.
Mm-hmm.
Um, this doesn't seem like a good idea, and being able to just walk away from things is a lesson that has been hard learned.
Okay, okay. Interesting. Yeah, I just see, to me, I feel like at first not to make this like your bad date and go into therapy mode. I'll try to keep it brief.
No, go for it.
So with my ex-boyfriend specifically, I was like okay with the idea because I had kind of basically already accepted. I'm like, I'm pretty sure he's doing these things behind my back anyway. So I want to be more like, more approachable about it. But it's just like I would want to like hear about, like the people or like the situations and stuff. And so it's like where do you think the line is, right? Of like wanting to, open communication and then like wanting to know too much. Yeah. It's a thinker.
I'm not positive I understand the question, actually. So okay, wait. So is part of your thesis that there is such a thing as knowing too much?
Yeah, or like, overstepping, like wanting to know too much about, like being overly involved in their, like separate endeavors, if you will.
I think that's really something for the two of you to negotiate. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think I would ever say that there's such a thing as categorically knowing too much. I mean,
Okay.
I've had partners who this is a little weird. I've had partners who really only get off if I'm telling them about what I did on a date with someone else.
Yeah.
So like, it's hard
Interesting.
to get more more sharing than that.
Okay.
And there are definitely, in fact, this is a very common thing with people who are allegedly poly. Where it's called the don't ask, don't tell relationship, where one partner is like, you can see other people, but I don't want to know about it. Do it behind my back. Just we'll pretend that we have a perfectly normal monogamous relationship, but you can get what you need. And that usually doesn't end up working.
Feels icky.
Usually that's a sign that there's something there which is only tenable on a temporary basis. So yeah, as far as like your specific situation, I don't think you're out of line for wanting to know any degree of stuff. Like,
yeah,
you could be like, hey, I really want to know like what you two did. I
want the
really
tea.
enjoy that.
Yeah, like I want to know. I want to gossip about it. I want to.
Exactly.
Did they do that weird thing that you like?
Yeah. Did you pick up any tricks? Is there anything you can share? Yeah. That is one of the huge benefits of being in the like non-monogamous community and sleeping around with a lot of people, is that you learn so much about tricks that people like, things to do. But then ultimately it also would depend on his comfort level with sharing. Some people may be very private, they may not feel comfortable sharing those sorts of things. I'm going to venture a guess that correlates highly to people who are a little more repressed about sex in general, a little less likely to share emotional stuff or talk about sex.
Yeah, I think with my specific scenario, it was he wasn't secure in his sexuality, because like from the beginning, we both talked about like being bisexual or whatever. But it's like, he would talk about women with me, but like any experience he's had with a guy was very like taboo, off the table, like don't even want to talk about it with you kind of thing. And so like I understand, like growing up as a man in the South, being bisexual and not being like comfortable, especially if you're like you have this like macho image or whatever. But at the same time, it's like, dude, come on, like where's the truth here? I think I was just in a pretty bad situation as far as like dishonesty goes. But
I
yeah, I
mean,
don't
it
know.
certainly sounds likely based on some of the other things that you said.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
like bringing up being in an open relationship, one thing that he would said, one of his boundaries was he wanted to be the only man in my life. He was like, I don't care if you have sex with women.
Oh my
I want to be the
God.
only guy in your life. And I'm
The
just
one
like,
penis policy strikes again.
yeah, like that is not the vibe.
Yeah, no, that's also very common. To the point where
Yeah.
it actually has a name. You down with OPP? No, no, we're not.
No. Yeah.
Yeah. This sometimes happens with female identifying people, but mostly it's male identifying people.
Mm-hmm.
Who are exactly like that. They're like, I can handle you, sleeping with another woman, but yeah, I don't want someone else's dick in you, which is extraordinarily misogynistic.
So bad, right? Ugh.
Yeah, and controlling, and just that is not the sign of someone who is going into an open relationship in good faith.
Yeah. So that's depressing. All right. So anybody listening, one penis policy, ladies and gentlemen.
We don't like
It's
it.
a thing.
No, we
It's
don't.
not a good thing.
Sometimes you'll run into someone who has a one pussy policy, but yeah.
It just defeats the purpose, like, of being in an open relationship. I just don't understand it. I think, oh my goodness.
Yeah. This is where I put on my muumuu and flower crown, and I'm like, but love is love, and you should be able to
Yeah.
practice love with anyone you want.
Yeah.
But also, very, very practically speaking, if someone can't handle the idea of you having the same freedoms as they do, something is wrong in the relationship.
Yeah, that's
And
incredibly controlling.
yeah, absolutely.
Ugh. Yeah,
And
unfortunately, that's been my experience, is men wanting me to only be with them, but wanting to do whatever they wanted and then lying about it so they can do it.
Yeah. And
Me
so
falling for it,
there is a related thing, which is a real phenomenon and is something that men will have to get over, and that is that. So in a heterosexual couple, if they open up the relationship, the woman in the couple is going to get a lot more attention than the man is. The man is going to get a lot less attention. That's just the way it is.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that the woman is going to get quality attention. She's going to have 500 messages on a dating app, sure, but they're all going to say hey, or what are you wearing.
Yeah.
So it's not really that much better quality, but yeah, it's something that men in heterosexual couples that are newly opened up definitely have to get used to, get over, and come to terms with.
Yeah. Ugh. Relationships. No, see, I don't want to have that. I don't want to have that, like, I want to have like a like an excited view of relationships again. So I'm hoping getting into polyamory will allow me to do that, but you gotta wade through the bad.
At the very least, it sounds like getting in touch with a community that's really open about relationships and sex and communicative and focused on love and making people happy is the step in the right direction.
Yeah. Do you have any suggestions about like online communities or anything like that?
Online communities. So if you're on Facebook, there is an open relationships group, which tends to be fairly Bay Area focused, but has a lot of members from all over the place, and it's a place to just sort of talk about open relationships in general. Now it depends on what your I think goals for things are, because if your goal is to like just establish community and talk about these sorts of things on sort of a theoretical level, or hear about how other people's relationships are going or how they do them, Facebook group is great. If you're looking to actually meet people, if you're looking to get more like face-to-face contact, if you're looking to actually put some of these things into practice, then you're going to have to look a little more local.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where things start getting dicey. So,
Yeah.
depending on where you are, you may have varying access to groups. Munches are a great place to meet polyamorous people, or at least people open or familiar with non-monogamous things. Even though munches themselves are mainly for kink and BDSM things.
Mm-hmm.
You may have polyamory meetups, or if you're really, really lucky, you might have a conference, that happens nearby. I think that's fairly rare, but maybe there is one around. But yeah, I would say check FetLife. That's usually a good place to go for anything kink or poly focused. The two
Okay.
do tend to go hand in hand. Not all the time. I by no means is everyone who's into kink or BDSM poly. Definitely not the case. Most poly people are into kink or BDSM to the point where it's a joke, because most of them are also witchy as well.
Okay.
So it's the triangle of
Yeah.
of alternative lifestyles.
Yeah, the connections, they're there.
Yeah.
I have a feeling I should not live in the South. I feel like that would be a step in the right direction.
Well, do you feel like moving to Asheville?
Wait, where's this?
Asheville, North Carolina?
North Carolina? Is that like a hotspot?
Yeah, so it is an island in the rest of North Carolina, where it's kind of like, in a lot of ways, it's actually more Berkeley than Berkeley over here. It's
Okay.
full of a lot of alternative lifestyle stuff, alt culture. If you are into crystal healing, they have plenty of crystal stores. It's very much keeping the hippie vibe alive and well.
Okay.
Austin, also very very progressive, very alt lifestyle friendly. I know the Research Triangle in North Carolina is also decently, leans decently in that direction. So
Yeah.
there are spots dotted around the South, but yeah, most of the South probably not. In Alabama, I don't know where you would go.
Out of state.
Out
That's
of
where
state.
you would
Yeah,
go.
exactly,
You would go out
exactly.
of state. I mean, like, I'm
Um,
in like the most progressive city in Alabama, and that's still really not saying much. We just got a Trader Joe's. Ooh.
Oh, hey.
Yeah, so
Oh,
step
wow.
in the right direction. I was gone for 2 years and I come back, there's a Trader Joe's. So it's like,
Oh
okay,
my God.
moving up
Yeah, I
in
know
the
I know
world.
Alabama decently well. My ex-wife was from Tuscaloosa,
Oh,
so
really? Yeah, I'm in Huntsville, which is like closer
oh
to
yeah,
the sea border, yeah. So
yeah, absolutely.
it's one of the very few blue areas, if
Yeah,
you see where I'm going there.
I do.
Yeah, so I mean, Florida seems like a crazy place, right? Maybe I should go to a different part of Florida. The part of Florida that I was in, honestly, it's very much, I mean, most of Florida is like retirement
Mhm.
communities, right? But I need to go somewhere like Tampa. It's a little crazier than Pensacola. It was literally in an area that they called Florabama because it's that
Oh my
close
God.
to the Alabama state line, yeah. In
I think
conclusion, I hate it
my
here.
ex-wife's parents referred to that area as the Redneck Riviera.
Yeah, that is an accurate statement.
Yeah.
So, and I feel so like bummed out because when I was in San Diego, one, it was the pandemic.
Mhm.
So everything was like pretty closed down. Like there were things open. But then too, I was in law school, so I was obsessed with, doing my coursework and stuff. So I didn't get to experience really San Diego at all because
Well,
of law school and, the pandemic sad. So,
yeah. If it's any consolation, at least in this particular area, San Diego is not really a great place for any poly stuff or
You think so?
non-monogamy stuff. Yeah, so I have a few friends down there, and they're like, yeah, there are like 20 of us here. It's
What?
very, very small. Yeah,
Wow. There's
they
like
all know each other.
there are like 1.4 million people in San Diego, which is
Yeah.
insane. And wow, okay. Well, you know what? That makes me feel a little bit better about leaving. I did actually consider Golden Gate Law School. That's, yeah. But, so maybe that would have been a better place to go. I don't know. It's just really expensive to live everywhere. Like, what kind of, like, underground business am I gonna have to get into to be able to afford to live as a single woman? You know, it's hard out here.
Well, how many spare organs do you have?
Plenty.
There we go.
Yeah. Ugh.
Or move into a commune.
I have considered that as well. I would love that, actually.
From 0 to 60, just go, I'm going to open up my relationship. Let's move to a commune.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just afraid I don't want to move into like some cult situation. That's what I'm most concerned about as far as communes go. I will not become a vegetarian, and I will not participate in cult activities. Those are my Okay, so I should consider polyamory when I find a location to move to. Wait, Rose is starting a commune. Yeah?
Commune?
Where at?
Oh my god.
I would love to join. As long as it's not a cult. So, you know. Just let me know the details on that.
Or, I mean, with Rose, maybe even if it is a cult, like, I'm sure that you two could do a cult right.
In Washington State. Okay, okay. Can we sacrifice misogynists? That's the only kind of cult I'm interested in joining. Not a cult, I promise. That's exactly what a cult leader would say.
But very persuasive.
Yeah. Andrew and I would be great cult leaders. Yeah? I would love to see it. You know what? I will retract my previous statement. There's some cults I'd be interested in joining. You know, if they were packaged and sold to me the right way, burn the misogynists. Exactly.
Okay, there we go.
All right. All right, I'm in.
We've got a new cult here.
I'm in.
I mean, what is a cult anyway? Like, oh well, what's religion? Religion is just a cult that succeeded, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna say I can get into some stuff about cults. I have listened to many a podcast about cults. I love it. I love like learning about their dynamics. Like, I mean, Jonestown obviously being a fan favorite, but I was like,
the psychology.
Well, the definition of a cult is. I was ready with it. They promise you life-changing experience, like an experience, a way of thinking. It's always, that's at the center of it, is someone in a vulnerable position being promised like a change to their life, or like, this is the answer, all of your problems, you know, like AA, you know.
I was say that's also how some people talk about polyamory.
Wait, really?
Yeah. Oh, especially this is you see the new convert syndrome a lot, where people are like, I just found this thing, you have to try it. Let me tell you all about my new religion.
Yeah,
like heavy proselytization.
The only life-changing experiences are living in log cabins, planting gardens, and owning goats and horses. Honestly, that sounds fantastic. That sounds fantastic. Confirmed polyamory is a cult. Stop. I mean, I feel like at the center of polyamory, though, is like, hey, do you want to live like an open and honest life where you don't hate your relationship? If that makes it a cult, then great. I'm interested.
I sort of feel like, so you know how Scientology has different levels, where the higher you get in each level, the more you find out, and eventually you find out that, you know, we're all souls going up to some giant magical thing in the skies, or whatever. I sort of feel like that, like non-monogamy goes through a similar thing where,
Yeah.
you know, the very initiate level, the first thing that people see and the thing that people associate with it are, so you have orgies every weekend, right? Like you sleep with a lot of people and
It's like every other weekend, first of all. No, but
oh
like,
no. Then the second level is like you find out that actually we all just worship the god Google Calendar. Um, and like what you're talking about is like, you know, at least 4 or 5 levels into the
mm,
initiation, like as you
yeah.
get more and more enlightened. Um,
What a way to live. I see why people do it. I'm assuming you're talking about polyamory. Yeah. I.
I don't know. I could see log cabins, gardens, goats, and horses too. Like,
Oh, you know what? That's probably what she meant. Here I am over here just being like, I don't know. I definitely, it's like I want to start dating again. Oh, you mean polyamory. Okay. Well, with the horses too. Both of those things. The log cabins is your life goal. Yeah, I agree. I was just thinking. So my grandfather owned like some pretty big land here in Sweet Home, Alabama. My dad is living on it. And I was just talking the other day to my mom about how cool. I was like, it'd be cool if we could all have our own house and like the land's big enough for them to all be far away enough to where we don't have to see each other. But it's like we're all there. We all have our own houses, right? But then we could like come together and have this little like agricultural life. I think that would be nice. But, you know.
that's the dream.
Yeah. That's what you're planning? Oh, I love that.
About that commune.
Yeah, no, seriously. And if my grandmother hasn't like written me out of her will, I'm totally gonna do that. If I ever inherit some land, like, yeah. There will be a hippie commune in
Ooh.
Rogersville, Alabama. Maybe that'll like make it actually worth going to. The state of Alabama. They don't write out nobody.
This is how you start making Alabama more progressive. Like,
Yeah.
bring the weirdos in.
Oh yeah,
You
I'm
know,
so in.
bring our
dude.
votes in. Yeah.
Somebody's got to. I mean, the hippie commune in Alabama. Exactly. Yeah. I think, you know, I could turn into it. It's like, it's funny because even when I only lived in California for like a year and a half, and like when I go places and meet people, like when I mention California, they're automatically like, "Oh, so you grew up there?" I'm like, I wish. I would still probably be just as radical of a person had I grown up in California versus, you know, the way that I did in Alabama, but it's just like people have been like, "Oh, you're bringing your California ways here." Somebody in Florida said that to me. They were like, "You bringing your hippie California ways into town." I'm like, "Okay, well, I was raised in Alabama, first of all, but thank you." That's a compliment. 100%.
Hippie Alabama ways? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you could totally make it a tourist thing.
Yeah.
You know, in the Midwest, there are lots of Amish communities, which do a fair amount of business getting tourists in.
Really?
Yeah.
I wonder what that.
You know,
Have you
sort of
ever
letting
been to
them
one?
see- Yeah, absolutely.
How was
There's
it?
one like an hour and a half south of where my parents live. I mean, they had great pies.
Yeah,
It
okay.
was so
That's the first thing. They had great pies.
they had great pies. So every year when I was in elementary school, we had this thing nearby called the Living History Farm,
Okay.
where people would, you know, it was a farm that was run exactly like it would have been in, you know, probably around 1800 or so.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, essentially 200-year-old farming practices and stuff. And so we would always, every year in elementary school, take a trip there as a class, like a field trip, where we would see people churning butter and see people like making soap out of lye and all the ancient farming equipment and stuff. And they would educate us. And so, like, ultimately, when I finally did go to the Amish community down in I think it's near Whatcheer, Iowa, I forget. It was just kind of like being there again.
Okay.
I'm like, yeah, I've seen it all. So I don't know what you would do for a poly commune in Alabama. This is
Yeah.
and this is our orgy room.
Yes.
This is our
That'll be the center main attraction. It's just the orgy
Yes.
room. Ugh.
And here is our extensive library on how to recognize emotions, process them, and communicate them.
Yeah. Yeah, everybody has to
Here
go
is a free
through.
copy for each one of you.
Yeah, everyone has to go through mandatory therapy first. That's how we like weed out the crazies, you know?
Yeah,
It's like,
you
oh,
can go.
you need our deluxe package. You go through the extensive therapy first. Here you can stay. Here's your little retreat, and then eventually you can come to the big orgy room. Okay. Only after you complete
Perfect.
the 6-week therapy class. Honestly, though, I feel like that would be perfect.
Some people kind of do that actually
Yeah.
around here. They're like, yeah, we need you to like actually demonstrate that you can handle stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it's not unreasonable because nothing spoils an orgy like someone not being able to handle their shit.
Nothing spoils an orgy like. I feel like that should be
Yeah.
like like a tweet series, like a tweet thread. Nothing spoils an orgy like a thread.
A thread. Nothing spoils an orgy like no cheese left in the cheese platter.
Oh, that
it's-
honestly does sound like a social faux pas to me. Who's in charge of the cheese? Come on.
Yeah, no, it's like it's one of these like hilarious truisms that there is always a cheese platter at an orgy, and that's always where people gather. Like some people just go there for the cheese, and they're like, I get to eat cheese and watch people having sex? That's great. Sign me up.
Is that like the equivalent of like people that sit on the wall at like parties? It's like, but for the orgy, it's the cheese in the middle of the room. It's like the cheese hangout is the new hugging the wall.
It kind of is, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it really is.
Oh no.
Oh.
Oh.
Sorry.
You
There we
froze?
go.
There. Okay. I was like, oh no, it's
Right.
my internet. I'm on Wi-Fi.
Oh.
Okay.
I think it might have been mine actually, because everything sort of
Okay.
froze over here.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I mean, the kitchen is usually where a lot of the socializing is going on, and usually where the less sexy things are going on. So it's a natural.
Is everybody
place
like
to-
still naked?
Yeah.
Or like,
Yeah.
I love
Generally, yeah. Sometimes people, go there straight after like having sex, and they're like, God, I really need some cheese
that. I
now.
need some snacks.
Yes. Snacks and water. Hydrate, people. Hydrate.
Oh, that's wonderful. Oh my god. Okay, but
yeah.
should I start a poly commune? Because like, I love that idea. Like I'm picturing it, right? I've got the land
Alabama?
for it. Yeah, I just need the deed. I need the deed and I need an investor.
I mean, if for no other reason than to like just piss off a lot of other people in Alabama,
I would love
yes,
that more than
you can
anything.
proselytize. You can go door to door and knock on people's front doors
Oh
and say,
yes.
"Excuse me, have you heard the good word of your own partner? Communicate."
They're like, we don't do that hippie shit here. We repress
We
our
stamp our
emotions for 50 years and wait for people to die instead of get a divorce. No,
As
but
God
literally, no, like, that's how my grandmother was. She, like, waited for my grandfather to die before she got remarried because that's what God would have wanted, you know?
Yep.
It's like,
No, it's not
okay,
the same in
Grandma,
Iowa.
lucky for you, he, wouldn't go to the doctor and the stage 4 lung cancer got him, right? Like, I got some stories about the South. I'll just say
Wow.
that.
Yeah.
Let's, you know,
I'm
trigger warning,
impressed.
unhealthy relationships.
So yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Go establish a poly commune in Alabama. There's every reason to do so, and what's the worst that happens? Like you live on some land in Alabama, and the only people who come to visit you are people who want to visit a poly commune in Alabama. Like,
I know, right? You thought you were the only one that got snacks afterwards, Jay. I love that. No, the snacks are essential. Like,
snacks are essential.
the amount of times I've wandered naked into a kitchen post-coitus for some snacks and a beverage. It's like, because the person that was supposed to bring in the cheese tray didn't show up for their shift, you know?
That's why we have emergency cheese tray.
Yes, they're a must. Absolutely. Jay, thank you so much for coming in. Did you have any questions? If anybody wants to ask any more questions, Kit, where can we find you on social media?
Yeah. So a number of places. I have a Twitch channel, obviously.
Yes.
Dionysian_kit or Dionysian_kit. Let's see. On social media, there's also a Discord linked there, which is kind of the main place that I hang out. One of my partners and I also do a podcast where we read bad
Yes.
erotica at each other and see who flinches first.
It's
It's called
delightful. It's
and
delightful. The
we'll be
interlude. Yes.
the interlude. INTERLEWD. And Jay, the topic was polyamory and open relationships. And yes, the second season for that is set to launch in October.
That's
just as soon as
exciting.
we get a little bit more material recorded. Yeah. Otherwise, and that's on Stitcher. It's also Interlude Pod on Instagram and Twitter. Not that we've posted anything, I think, because we fail at marketing.
Marketing
You
is
can-
hard. Also, if
you
you
can
want to
also find
copy. Oh, wait, sorry. I was going to say if you want to copy paste anything in the chat, but I have the links turned off. So if you want to send me anything and I can copy paste it in the chat.
Yes. Yeah, so you can also find us at wholeassproductions.com.
Whole Ass
And
Productions.
Seth and I also do a lot of community stuff on our Discord, including some very not safe for work stuff. So this will be anything from planning kink courses to sometimes we just have sex and let people watch, but those
Facts.
are for subscribers of Seth's channel.
Yes.
So that. And yeah, Jay, I am in a poly relationship with several other people. Midnight and I are not in a poly relationship, but that was the question. I'm not sure exactly what the
Oh
meaning
yeah,
is.
that's good clarity. That's great.
Yeah. But yeah, if you have any questions, do speak up.
Yeah,
Sorry, I'm taking over the host duties here of your
No,
podcast.
no, it's amazing. Please do. I'm so bad. I'm just like glad that I woke up somewhat in time. I feel so bad. I woke up. I saw like 7:15. I was like, holy shit. My alarm went off like twice. It was
But
it was a whole thing.
it
But I
was-
made it. Yay.
You made it, and it sounds like it was a much needed nap. So
Yeah.
and I am a performer. Oh yeah, that's another thing. I'm a burlesque performer, although you're probably not likely to see any of that unless you're in the San Francisco Bay Area, and even then, probably not for a while because burlesque shows have been dropping like flies around here.
Really?
I think it's
Oh.
just delayed
Tragic.
effect from the pandemic. Theaters closing down, burlesque troops disbanding. Just everyone's still afraid to go out, but there's no more financial support because hey, apparently COVID's over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A concept. So Jay wants to know how it is being in a poly relationship. Did you answer that? I don't remember.
How is it being in a poly relationship? I mean, I love it. It's not for everyone. You have to be very willing to be open about your emotions and talk with people. I joked earlier, and I always do, but there's some truth to it, that it's, twice the relationships for 3 times the work. Because you really do have to approach each relationship, put work into each relationship, but also put a lot of work into how the relationships work with each other. So there's a lot of stuff going on. Married to a cis man, but always wanted to be in another relationship with a woman.
I think that's a universal experience. Like, for people, okay, universal is not the right word. It's a common thing. I've met a lot of people that are like married to men that are like, I've always wanted to be in a relationship with a woman, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
do you want financial compensation for being married to a man? Like, blink twice. Like, are you okay? Also, Ziggy, thank you so much for coming in.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, so that's the kind of high level. Just I love it. I think it's great. Not for everyone. Takes work. Um, more interested in women than men, but I'm married to a man. Okay, yeah, and that's legit. I mean, uh, sexuality has a strong intersection with non-monogamy.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, my thing is like I am much more interested in women, but I just tend to date men, which is just tragic if you ask me. Like there should be like some level, you know. I need to level it out. So,
yeah.
but women terrify me, so. All
Pan.
right, Jay, I
Okay.
forgot your
Awesome.
pan.
Excellent. Well, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Always good to see uh, non-heterosexual sexualities represented.
I know,
Um,
absolutely.
slowly getting normalized. Yeah, no, same thing. Corgi and Saf also both joke that they're lesbians, but they date men just because they're easy.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
1,000% actually. It's it's the fact that we all feel this way, but we're still all terrified of each other. Like women terrified of like dating other women. I just
So Saf's handle is slightly twisted form of the useless sapphic trope, right?
Yeah. I love it. Every time I think about it. Thank God it's
Yeah.
getting normalized. I agree, Jay, absolutely.
Seriously.
It's about time.
Not fast enough though.
I know, like maybe in 100 years, society will be a little better.
Yeah, I mean, not to get too political, but I do worry about that now with the sort of regression that we've seen over the last 2 months.
Absolutely.
Legally
Yeah.
and politically, so.
And like I am surprisingly optimistic. I'm like, you know what? Maybe it'll be one of those things where like it gets worse before it gets better. Like, maybe certain issues going back to the state level will cause, more of like a uproar. And, maybe we'll make it to the Supreme Court again, and then we'll have better, precedent created. But that's my incredibly optimistic take. So.
But you actually echo something that Saf asserted as well, and she has a bit more optimism about that working out. Is that a lot of the stuff getting worked out on the state level will provide a stronger base for it to get institutionalized. And while that may be true, there's going to be a lot of damage in the meantime.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and here I am being like, we should just call another constitutional convention. Like that's ever gonna happen again.
Right.
I'm like, maybe we are getting true to how our constitution's supposed to work. I mean, I went in to go to law school, you have to believe in something, and I really believed in the Constitution for a long time. So
I noticed the past
I'm like
there.
grasping at straws. I'm like, maybe there's something left. Maybe I should believe in it. So
Terrified
So
to
you-
date women.
you had a
This is
bad
your
first experience. Yeah. I feel like it would be lucky to have a good first experience, right? Or is that me being pessimistic? I'm trying to think of my first experience with a woman. It was so long ago. I don't ever remember it going well, though, for me personally.
Okay.
It was always like, well, because I've dated one girl in like high school, but she was a little cuckoo. So, no, but see, like, I hate to be that person that's like calling someone else crazy. No, I don't want to do that. Like, she. How do I say it in a nice way? If I had a good first experience, I would have never dated Ben. Really?
I think that's the first time I've heard that.
Same. Me too.
Wow.
Ooh.
Jay, thank you for telling me something I've never heard before today.
Yeah,
That's
feel free to
awesome.
share. Feel free to share. If you want to go into it. If not, I totally get it.
I mean, not awesome that you didn't have a good first experience. But
Right.
Thank you for the novelty.
For the fresh perspective. For the unique perspective. I got in the trap a lot. And see, like saying I dated a girl is crazy. But like, I think maybe we all are just a little, a little crazy, right? And it's all about finding the person whose crazy is compatible with ours, you know? So I really do try to get away from, like, slapping somebody with a crazy label, because, you know, what's the saying about throwing stones in glass houses, but...
Don't do it.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
exactly.
think that's the saying.
But I always end up with women who are like, I've never been with a girl before. Like, consistently has been like women who I have made them question their sexuality, which is flattering, but at the same time also, like, not the vibe. Consistently not the vibe, you know? So, I don't know how I get past that.
And I mean, that's like, what do you do, right? Because we all have to start somewhere.
Yeah.
Like, you had a first experience with a woman where you didn't know necessarily how it was going to go.
Yeah.
And I don't begrudge anyone for not wanting to, you know, take on the extra labor, both emotional and physical, of being someone's first. But at the same time, like, what do you do otherwise? Like, how do these people actually get experience?
It's always like, heavy quotation marks, straight women. You know what I mean? Which is like it's like a different kind of experience. It would be different if it was like somebody that was like, oh yeah, like I know that I like women for sure. This is just my first like experience. Versus like, oh no, I'm straight. I just got married to a man kind of situation. But I will say the first girl that I was with is with another woman now. So like, she figured it out. Good for her.
All right.
But yeah. Let's see. What else have we not discussed? I feel like we really got into it.
She always wanted to push me to do stuff I didn't want to do.
Oh, that's not a vibe.
Oh no.
Oh, somebody that wanted to kind of like just be in the closet, or just be very hush hush about it.
Wow. Yeah, that sounds like a terrible experience.
I don't blame you. I'm trying not to let my last terrible relationship experience ruin relationships for me in general, so I'm there with you.
Yeah, and that's the hell of it, right? Like, every bad relationship teaches us so much about things, about ourselves, and about relationships in general. And you would think that after a while there wouldn't be any more mistakes to make, and yet somehow there still are.
Yeah. They just keep happening. I'm like, when is it gonna be good? When am I gonna be done making a million mistakes?
Yeah.
But you know, that's the human experience, or something
and
philosophical.
There are definitely a lot of broken people out there who really are selfish or careless, and you know, just don't make for great relationship material. You know, at the point they are, when you meet them. I wish that there was like a mandatory, here is how to have a healthy relationship class that people had to take.
Whew. Yeah, me too. Let's develop that. How do we get that in the curriculum? Yeah, because I agree. I mean, but think about, like, you know, sex ed gets such blowback. Imagine trying to instill good relationship values. You think that would go over better than sex education?
I want to think so.
Yeah.
I do honestly think so, but I'm suddenly, now that you mention it, I'm suddenly skeptical that it would get, better support. Oh, wow. I hope it would.
Yeah. I would just be afraid it would be very much like a Christian values type thing, which, I mean, if you're Christian, there's nothing wrong with it. But I would hate for it to be limited to, like, that scope, you know, when there's so much.
Yeah.
Like, imagine giving different perspectives of, like, in a relationship class, like, discussing polyamory in, like, a high school class. Imagine.
That'd be amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. No, it would absolutely, especially if it was taught in a like high school curriculum, it would totally get co-opted by people with more regressive social values.
Jay. The strap. Yeah, we've definitely learned a lot. The crazy thing is you don't need men to have children anymore, you know? So, strap-ons exist, artificial insemination exists, which, I mean, I think you might need some kind of male contribution there with artificial insemination. I'm not sure. But, yeah. Welcome to the future, Jay.
Yeah. No. The technology is here.
Yeah, we have the
is real.
technology. We have it.
Yeah.
I wish I would have known that when I was 15. Listen, we can't change the past. We can only ruin the future. So, you know what? No, with what you know now, move forward, my friend.
Yeah. So, getting back briefly to jealousy.
Yes.
One of the things, and this is not jealousy about any one particular person, but I was always I had sex fairly late in my life, so I
cannot imagine that.
Right?
How? Okay.
I was almost 21 before I first had sex.
No way.
Yeah,
but you're gorgeous.
Yeah.
What? Did you just like guard your chastity? Like,
I'm sure that made me even more attractive to some people, but yeah, kind of. And more like the people I was with didn't really want to have sex, and I was like, yeah, okay, I don't feel like it's an absolute need to, like that sort of thing. But I always wish that I had had sex earlier in life, and so to a large degree, this is a lot of this is like making up for lost time, even though I've more than made up for it by this point. But yeah, it's exactly that. It's accepting, like, look, you came to this thing later than some other people. Like, sure, there are some people who figure it out when they're 15. There's some people who figure out when they're 40.
Yeah.
Exactly what you just said, though. You do what you can with the time you have left. It's no use dwelling on the past.
Yeah.
And certainly, if I had had sex earlier in life, I think that it would have been a lot messier, and there would have been a lot more strife in my youth, because no one knows how to fucking handle themselves when they're like a teenager.
No, absolutely not. It's funny that you say you wish you had had sex sooner, because I wish I had had sex later in life. Like, I lost my virginity when I was 14, and the mess. And you know what? I hate even, let me backtrack, because I don't like the idea of virginity at all, because I feel like virginity is a man-made construct. So let's
highly patriarchal construct. Yes.
And I even talked to somebody, and they were like we were like thinking about how these ideals really came about, and somebody said something to me, and I'm convinced that this is like the truth, is that virginity exists because there was no way to tell whose child belonged to who. So virginity was invented for like property rights and like inheritance and everything. So it's like people would know, oh, well, she's only been with this person, so like this is who gets to inherit this land. So yeah, I think we all have some regrets there, Jay. I definitely do. But so that's
well, Jay, so speaking of ruining your marriage by going off and finding someone, we tackled earlier in the episode the idea of opening up relationships. How do you bring that up? Not actually, I don't think we tackled how to bring it up. We just tackled,
we can do that now. That would be great.
Pitfalls. How to bring it up, boy, that's a tough one. It's so dependent on the people. I've definitely just had people kind of say it out of the blue, like, "Hey, I think we should, open our relationship." I've known people who have sort of felt out with their partner, just like probing questions and then sort of getting a sense for how they would react. Um, yeah, I don't know. And if it's something that you're certain that your partner wouldn't be into, then maybe even bringing it up would be an issue.
Yeah.
Get a lot of backlash.
Yeah, because when you mentioned it doesn't bode well for the relationship when you like introduce openness because you've like already found a person. Oh my god, not my camera doing the thing that it always does. I literally turned the brightness down on my ring light like 2 notches, and it was like, oh, remember when you could see yourself?
Oh. Yeah.
That's fine. This is fine. Sometimes I just have to stare really close and it comes back. I hate everything. Okay, wait. Just keep talking.
All right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, sorry, I'm just catching up on what Jay's
Yeah.
writing here. He only wants to be involved with another person if he's involved too, but on the other hand, I think it'll be confusing to our child.
Oh.
Right. So yeah, that's another thing. We did talk earlier a little bit about children being raised by poly families.
Mm-hmm.
Children are really, really good at accepting this stuff by and large. You would be surprised. I've been introduced to several people's kids, several partners' kids, of varying ages, all the way from like, I think the youngest was like 5, and the oldest was, well, technically 20, but adult.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they're usually like, okay,
Yeah.
yeah. So, you may be putting more, I think, adult rigid thinking on children than they deserve credit for, than they deserve. Because yeah, like kids are great. Kids are
They're
great
very accepting. Yeah.
at accepting things. Yeah, I mean, if if we're talking about people who can pretend that they're fighting a dragon in the backyard, right, and do so
Mm-hmm.
unabashedly. So accepting
Yeah.
other things is probably not difficult. Um, but yeah, he only wants to be involved with another person if he's involved too. Yeah, no, that's common. And yeah, definitely something to chat about between the two of you.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
I don't know if that would be something where saying, I would like to see other people and I'd like you to also be able to see other people would be appealing to him or not.
Yeah. It's tricky. It is
It's
almost
tricky.
easier to like go into it with the expectation versus like open it up later. We live in a very red state. Yeah, we were discussing that earlier as well.
Yes. It's difficult. Yeah.
Good places to go,
Yeah. I grew up mainly in Iowa, and my first relationship was with, I swear, the only other poly person in Iowa. Well, okay, technically no, one of the only other 3 poly people because she was dating the other 2.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's tough, and I don't have any great advice for finding other people. Search some of the things like FetLife, or if there's like a open relationship or non-monogamy group on your favorite social media platform that is geared towards your area. That's great. But
Yeah. Yeah.
otherwise,
My thing is like I just gotta move.
yeah.
I have to move.
Yeah.
So, maybe that it's just, you open up your mind to things. You open up your geographic, possibilities. So,
Mm-hmm.
that could be exciting. So we'll see.
I will say, if what you're after is more of a sexual experience,
Mm-hmm.
let's see, relationship. Yeah. So if what you're after is more of a sexual experience, I guarantee you can find that in a red state. You
Oh
just
yeah,
might
for
have to go
sure.
through a few more hoops.
Mm-hmm.
It may not be a terribly rewarding experience. See again all the stuff that I said earlier about swingers being extraordinarily normative and
Yeah.
sort of socially conservative in basically every way. Um, but it's there and it's available, I'm sure. If I was in a relationship with a woman, she's only
Yeah. So I think there's some like dynamics there, Jay.
yeah.
It's a little, what's the word? Normative?
Normative.
That?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, normative and also again patriarchal.
Mm-hmm. Patriarch is alive and well.
Yeah. It only counts as real sex if a guy's involved. Therefore, I have to be involved with you and another woman.
Yeah. Basically. You're more of a relationship person. Yeah, and definitely, you know, there's like a lot of different aspects to polyamory, and I think there are plenty of people that are polyamorous that are also relationship people. So
yeah, we do tend to be more focused on relationships, and sex is definitely a very big part of it. But yeah, the whole relationship thing is a big draw, and a lot of people in the community need to have an emotional connection with someone before sleeping with them. So.
I am definitely that type of person. It's like I have to like somewhat be able to stand you, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
I gotta be able to be in a room with you for at least 30 minutes and not be totally annoyed. No, honestly, that's not even much longer than 30 minutes.
Much longer. As sometimes titillating as the concept is of just being able to like go into a bedroom and just be like, shh, don't talk. No, seriously, don't talk. Oh my God, you said something. No, I'm out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it doesn't work usually.
Yeah, and that's not, I don't think, a very rewarding experience. Unless it's like the only way I can imagine that would be cool is if like neither of you spoke the same language. So it was like this mysterious, like, oh, we don't speak the same language. Let our bodies do the talking kind of thing.
Oh.
Yeah. That's the only situation where I could find that like somewhat fun.
You just gave me a great idea for some role play later.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
I've always thought about that, like how wonderful it would be. So it's like you don't even speak the same language at all. So there's just like no, and it's like it's obviously like a one night thing. You meet on some like fateful night. You're only there like you know how like transitory it is to be like waiting at an airport, like kind of like those vibes, but in some foreign country.
Yeah. No, I get it. I totally get it.
Yeah, that's the goal.
Okay.
Yeah, Jay, sounds like you need a divorce. I'm sorry. Don't listen to me. Don't listen to me. That's my solution to everything. Wow. It's just get a divorce.
Wow.
I think more people should get divorced. Next podcast episode.
I mean, yeah, hot take. Wow.
I'm pro divorce. I think divorce is a good thing.
Yeah, and I will say that divorce was really the only thing that let me lead my life in the way that I really, really wanted to be able to. Even though my wife was largely accepting of polyamory and stuff, and that's not really what killed our relationship. But yeah, it's definitely a very good thing, and I think a lot of people stay in relationships, married or not, way longer than they should.
Yes, I know. I'm very guilty of that. You want to support my bills? If you don't take that man to court, I get child support. Don't listen to me. Don't listen to me. Oh my God. I actually did want to be a divorce attorney. So, perhaps I'm a bit biased there. You know, I still could. I bet I could make a lot of money doing divorces too. It's a lot of rich people that don't want to be together anymore. And it ain't cheap. Anyway.
Yeah.
Well, what a lovely
mean-
episode.
Yeah, no, it's been great. It's been great, and I will say that you certainly would have been a lot more competent than my divorce lawyers. So
Yeah.
I'll put that on your Yelp reviews if you ever go
Okay.
that way.
Okay, that sounds great. Oh,
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, absolutely great episode.
Mhm.
I loved talking about this with you. Thank you so
yeah,
much for having
of
me.
course. Yeah. It was so great. It was so great to hear your experiences, and I would love to have you on the podcast again to talk about
Yeah.
so many, and I would love to have you and Saf together for an episode. I think that would
Perfect.
be, yeah, that would be amazing. Just to mostly listen to Saf talk. I mean, I just love listening to her talk. She's just such a wonderful well of information. But yeah.
Yep. Yeah. No. And she has so many very good and well thought out things that she can communicate. She can express. I'm honestly amazed and so impressed at how fast her mind can work and
Yeah.
how easily she can see to like the heart of a lot of things, whereas I'm still like back at step one being like, wait, okay, got it. Now
Yeah.
what?
Yeah. Absolutely. Okay, Jay, question. Let's hear it.
Okay,
We'll do the last question. I'm trying to decide if I want to play some games after this or not, or if I'll just go back to sleep. Let's be real.
I mean, yeah, it's what is it?
It's
Almost
only
10
10
for you
o'clock.
over
Yeah. That's not a question. I was like, that's a statement. Jay. Okay, that was great.
Wait, I'm also confused about the wording there.
Yeah.
You
Maybe
have dreams about having sex with women but never men?
that's probably what they meant,
Okay.
I believe.
Only have
Yeah.
Okay.
Divorce. All I'm saying.
I mean, it seems like that's something that you might be craving, and that's why you're dreaming about it, because it's a need that's unfulfilled.
Yeah.
Amateur
I-
analysis here. I do not
Yeah.
have any professional degree.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Oh, they got an ad, of course.
Oh,
R.I.P.
no.
I know. I did forget to do the disclaimer. I have no idea what I'm talking about. I am just a person with a microphone. I think that's pretty obvious, though.
Turns out they'll give those things to anyone these days.
I know, you can just buy them. Great timing, Twitch. I know, right? Okay. Well, thank you everybody so much that listened. Kit, thank you so much for being here. If you
Yes.
want to post some socials and stuff in the Discord, you're more than welcome to.
Yeah. Absolutely. Thank you.
And
Thank you.
I will see everyone next time.
All right.
Bye, guys.
Thank you so much, everyone.